健可愛いよね。あれ、ない。秋田健太郎。健太郎ってあれのことだよね。山田さんすごく落ち込んでたから。
俺が探す。
Hi there everyone, Lars here, back with another Dangers in My Heart review and analysis at long last, brought to you by Camille's Harem. Not just a podcast by novice writers for novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers. Because writing is an adventure, it's more fun with friends. And oh boy, just the gooey, gushy, fluffy goodness that was coming off of this episode is almost impossible to capture in words. This episode had the really difficult, arduous task of changing the feeling and theme of the story. Now then, ultimately at the heart of it, it is always been about Ichikawa and Yamada falling in love, and really for Ichikawa especially, it is about redeeming himself from the slime ball that he is at the beginning of the story. However, we need to remember that at the end of season 1, Ichikawa comes clean to Yamada about who he once was, why he became that way, and he is now firmly on the trajectory towards becoming a better person, someone that he can be happy being who he is. So a lot of that darkness definitely is going to take a backseat. It's going to crop up again and again and again as Ichikawa deals with certain things, but from now on, we are transitioning towards looking at their relationship. They are firmly now in the friendship zone, but not stuck there, as we are going to see, because, well, Yamada's got plans, Ichikawa's got plans. Now they are friends who have feelings, and we get to see the hilarity of those feelings not being fully communicated just yet. And I'm going to say just yet, even though this is slightly spoilery, for those of you who have read the manga, if you are paying really close attention to the opening number, to the opening credits, there is one shot in particular that should let you know where this season is going to end. And I'm just going to leave it there. What I love is that we're now transitioning fully into rom-com territory with heavy emphasis on the romance, and I love how this is handled. We need to remember that despite Yamada's figure, we are dealing with middle school students, and as a quick aside, I'm sorry to anyone who's a detractor to this, but if you have taught in high school or in middle school, you will have seen girls and boys who have developed way beyond the rest of their peers. This is not anything abnormal. It happens quite often. So it makes sense then why you could have a character like Yamada, being as she is, being more developed than the rest of her peers, which would make her, especially for the young guys, eye candy. It happens. Let's move on from that. So diving into the good fluffiness right here, we're back to them coming to school. Ichikawa still has a broken arm from his fall during the winter break, and I love that this is still a thing. I hate it when a story has characters getting injured and they're just seemingly better within a week or two, or that the story just is like, oh, you know what, they're injured, but they're doing just fine. No, Ichikawa still needs help. He's got a broken arm, for crying out loud, and it hurts, and we get many references to that throughout this episode, and this episode covers multiple days. So once again, there are consequences for character choices. Things matter that happen within the story. So Ichikawa needs someone to rely on, and he is embarrassed to rely too much on Yamada because, well, two things. Number one, he doesn't want to communicate it too much to her because she might not like it, that I've got a crush on you. He is super scared and embarrassed of that. The second thing that he's scared and embarrassed of is, what if other people realize that I have feelings for Yamada? Too late, Ichikawa. Hara already knows, and she is playing best wing woman in this episode. I should also throw Moe into the mix for that, especially because of what she does at the end of the episode. But really, this is Hara's episode to shine as the wing woman. But so Ichikawa makes a real fool of himself by saying very loudly to the teacher that he doesn't need to work with Yamada, which Yamada catches on. She's not too happy about that, but Yamada, being the queen that she is, being someone who does like Ichikawa and is going to look out for him, she then goes to Adachi and makes sure that Adachi takes notes for Ichikawa and helps him out. And once Ichikawa figures all of that out, they quickly reconcile, which shows great progress for Ichikawa's character, that he is now willing to talk about these things rather than just let them sit deep within and boil up to blowing up point like in a bad pressure cooker. However, still, of course, he needs to talk about how he feels with Yamada, and Yamada, it needs to also be a little bit more honest and forthright. She is still being the blunt instrument that she was back in season 1, where she is telegraphing her feelings without saying anything, and this is something that all girls should know. Men are dumb. Boys are dumb. We need this kind of stuff spelled out for us, otherwise our imaginations take things in really crazy directions. In any case, Ichikawa finally admits that he wants to work with Yamada in order to do everything that he needs to do at school while he still has an injured arm, and so they begin working more together, and this is just where the fluffiness just really takes off with how Yamada is holding the book with him rather than turning the pages. I mean, the guy can even turn pages for himself, for crying out loud. You can do a whole lot with one hand when it comes to a book, but no, Yamada is being right there up close, brushing up against him, turning the pages, holding on to him, taking all of the notes, playing footsie with him under the table, and even being very sweet and wife-like when it comes to him getting lunch. So Yamada is just all over him, and I love the awkwardness that comes out here, because again, these are middle school kids who are experiencing this crush for the first time, and you can see the awkwardness, you can see the lovey-doveyness just come together, and it works beautifully. This is honestly a great strength of visual storytelling, and for any writer who wants to be able to capture that kind of fluffiness, you need to take the time to describe how characters are positioned, what kinds of tones they are using, the feelings, the atmosphere. You're not just going to be able to capture that kind of fluffy goodness simply with dialogue or just with a description. You have to bring everything together to make that happen, and the visual medium can do that beautifully and quite succinctly. So let's quickly shift gears to the real drama of this episode, and that is the sweet little doggies that Ichikawa got for him and Yamada during break. Well, one of them comes loose and falls free from Yamada's backpack as she's going off to school, and this is already kind of foreshadowed with her loosening the band earlier as the friends in the class and their classmates begin to realize that, oh, they have the same little doggy, the same little Kentaro. And I love that Kobayashi is so thick that she can't put 2 and 2 together to realize that they are the same memento between Yamada and Ichikawa. That was hilarious. But in any case, because Yamada loosened the band to show off said doggy, to hand it on over, that means that it comes loose, it gets lost in the snow, and snow day happens. Yay, because we're in the middle of winter. Ichikawa goes out into the snow with his umbrella to whack the snow loose to try to find this little doggy, and his arm is aching. The broken bones just do not do well in the cold, so he is hurting. He's in agony to try to find this little memento that he got for Yamada, even though it's something small. It doesn't really mean much in the larger scheme of things, but to the young middle schoolers who are in love, this is a symbol of their bond, and it shows that he's willing to reciprocate everything that she's done for him. It is a sign of affection. Well, he is utterly lost and distraught, and then Moe comes along and points him in the right direction, being the absolute wing woman queen that she is, especially from the previous season, and boom, he collides into Yamada. Yamada realizes what he's been doing for her. You just get that sweet romantic drama, and then Ichikawa sees the little doggy, little Kentaro, hanging from a branch. which someone very kindly has put it on up in case anyone realizes that they've lost it and backtracks to try to find their little memento. And that's sweet. And then once they retrieve it, because Ichikawa is absolutely frozen, Yamada invites him home to warm him up. Really, everything about this episode just put a smile on my face because it was so dang cute. And it made sense. It was a perfect continuation for the story, for the characters, despite the fact that we've really shifted theme and focus. We're now focusing very much on the relationship of two characters who are in love with each other but haven't yet communicated that, who haven't verbalized it to one another so that way they can take their relationship to the next level. It's that funny, awkward stage of any romance, and it's good. It's going to be interesting to see how they're going to elongate this throughout an entire season without it becoming old. That's going to be very interesting to see how they pull off. But this episode did a great job of firmly grounding us in the new setting for Ichikawa and Yamada, for moving us along ahead from season 1, and it was again cognizant of all of the massive changes to characters and setting and to their actions. All of these consequences, all of these changes are represented in this episode, creating a great band of continuity. This is something that every writer has to deal with if they're struggling with a series. You need to have recaps. I'm someone that as a kid I was like, I already know what happened in the previous books. I don't need a recap. Trust me, you need recaps. I've learned you need recaps because it's very easy for people to forget very important aspects, very important connections between one book to the next or from one season to the next. There needs to be continuity as you continue to progress your story. If you're just like, hey, I wrapped up this one book or I wrapped up this one season, I'm going to jump onto the next without really doing any sort of callback to what happened before or showing how what happened before has influenced the events that you're now portraying, you are going to lose your audience. Not because they're going to check out and they don't care, but because they're just naturally going to forget certain elements and they're going to be like, wait a second, wasn't Ichikawa a bit of a brat in the first season? He was really gloomy and everything. Why is he now all lovey-dovey right here? This episode makes a good reference to that and then moves along naturally without spending too much time on it. So as a writer, what we can really learn from this episode alone is continuity matters. You need to make callbacks where appropriate and within an appropriate amount of time to what has happened before. You need to make sure that everything that is happening makes sense and you're not just simply jumping on ahead. Consequences need to matter. If a character gets injured, for instance, you need to play that injury out and not just simply move along with it. And when it comes to firmly establishing where the story is now going, you need to have a very strong opening to your story or to a new arc that lets the reader or the audience know we are going now in this direction. So this episode right here did that all really well, and you can really take a lot of good cues of how to write a fun romance, especially a romance between younger people. This isn't a mature romance, and that's absolutely fine. Let it be awkward. Let it be sickeningly cute. That is okay if that is what you are writing. So that's what they did right here in this episode, and it was fine. It was beautiful. In conclusion, I am honestly so excited for this new season. I'm excited to see what all the other episodes have to reveal to us, how they're going to adapt the source material. I'm especially excited to see how they are going to draw out the romantic tension for the next 11 episodes. This is going to be a blast. But as we're waiting for the next episode, if you're looking for more reviews, analyses, insights, writing advice, then please check out our other videos here on our channel. If you'd like to support what we do, then please like, comment, share, subscribe, check out the books that we've already published. We would absolutely love it if you did that. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us on this incredible adventure that we call writing. And until the next gooey, sweet, romantic episode of the Dangers in My Heart Season 2, Choose.
言ってみて。
本当は一番頼りたいと思って。